I was a little concerned when I do my OAV using this OXVAP 110 as to whether or not the vapors were getting all the way up to the top of my triple deeps. So I did a little experiment here. This colony has a single deep now and a mouse guard in the front, which I've sealed off to some degree with some painter's tape. And I also sealed off the back of the mite board, not very well, by the way, with some painter's tape, but I never thought it was all that critical until I did this experiment. So you see here the OXVAP is already finished vaporizing, and now it's starting to cool down. There was a little bit of cloud that came out through the top. So it gets up to 230 degrees, and then I pull it off and I try the same configuration, except this time I have a second deep on it. With that single deep I used 1 gram of oxalic acid. Here I am using 2 grams, of course, and immediately it vaporizes or sublimates, and the cloud erupts out through the top pretty well of the second deep. But notice in the back my ill-prepared screen bottom board is leaking pretty badly, and there's more leaking coming out the front, but it's from that mouse guard, which is not well secured, and also coming out from underneath that screen bottom board. Now in the next shot I'm going to go ahead and put a third deep on top. I'm going to use the same mouse guard setup without any additional tightening up of leaks, and of course this time I have 3 grams or 3 scoops of oxalic acid. Instructions call for 1 gram per brood box. And in the back you can see there, or you can see the leakage, which is more severe than before. I'm looking here seeing if I can see any of the cloud coming up into my third deep, where by the way is where the bees are going to be most of my winters. But look at that amount of leakage in the back. I just do not have the back sealed off very well. And there's leakage coming out from the front too, where that mite board that slides in, it slides in on a track, and I don't think there's a very good seal between the mite board and the track, so there's probably a lot of vapor loss there. Here I'm trying to pull some frames out, but they're stuck, so I'm going to do this triple experiment again. This time I've tightened up the mouse guard to try to minimize leaking there, and I've tightened up the back of the mite board to try to reduce that leaking as well. And again I have 3 grams of oxalic acid in my vaporizer. This oxalic acid cloud is heavier than air, so it does go up, but it also drops down and hangs around the bottom a lot. Thus, the amount of leaking, but the bulk of it is in those bottom boxes. Now you see the back, I've reduced significantly the leakage in the back, but it's still coming out from the underneath through a poorly fitted mite board sliding in on that track underneath the colony. This time I'm going to be successful in pulling out some of the frames in the top deep. I'm waiting until it gets to 230. That means it's done. There, I heard the click. So now I'm going to pull off a couple frames out of the top and look for fumes. And lo and behold, I see some fumes. Of course, it's not nearly as much as it would be, I suppose, if I had done a better job of sealing off that screened bottom board. Now, those who don't use screen bottom boards don't have a problem with that leakage, and they probably would do a pretty good job of filling up their 3 boxes if they are using triple deeps.